Imagine this. Right now, somewhere in our galaxy, an invisible object is hiding in the darkness. It is about 10 times heavier than our sun, and its gravity is so powerful that even light cannot escape. And the shocking part? This black hole is not billions of light years away. It is only about 1,560 light years from Earth. Don't panic. It is not coming toward us, but it is real. And compared with the biggest black hole ever discovered, this nearby black hole is tiny. So what exactly are black holes? How are they born? Can they die? And how many of them could be hiding in space? Let's explain it as simply as possible. First, a black hole is not really a hole. It is not an empty tunnel in space. It is a huge amount of matter squeezed into an incredibly small area. Imagine taking something as heavy as the sun and crushing it into a ball much smaller than a city. When matter is squeezed this tightly, its gravity becomes unbelievably strong. Gravity is the invisible force that pulls things toward each other. Gravity keeps your feet on the ground. It keeps the moon moving around Earth, and it keeps Earth moving around the sun. But inside a black hole, gravity becomes so powerful that nothing can escape. Not rocks, not spaceships, not gas, not even light. NASA explains that a black hole is an extremely dense object surrounded by a boundary beyond which nothing, including light, can escape. That is why it is called a black hole. It does not shine like a star. It does not reflect light like the moon. Instead, light gets trapped inside. So when we look toward a black hole, we may see a dark area surrounded by glowing gas and dust. Now, every black hole has something called an event horizon. That sounds like a very complicated name, but the idea is simple. Think about standing near a waterfall. If you are far away from the edge, you can swim back to safety. But if you get too close, the water pulls you toward the edge. And once you go over the waterfall, you cannot swim back up. The event horizon is like that edge. It is an invisible boundary around a black hole. If you stay outside it, you might still escape. But if you cross it, there is no turning back. You would not crash into a solid wall. You would not see a sign saying, "Welcome to the black hole." It would simply be an invisible point of no return. After crossing it, every possible path leads deeper inside. At the very center of a black hole, scientists use a word called singularity. A singularity is where the matter may be crushed into an incredibly tiny point. The gravity there becomes so extreme that our current understanding of physics begins to break down. And here is the honest answer. Scientists do not fully know what is really inside a black hole. We have powerful theories. We have computer simulations. We have observations of stars and gas moving around black holes. But nobody has traveled inside one and returned to tell us what happened. Because, well, they could not return. So the singularity is still one of the biggest mysteries in the universe. The most common black holes we know about are born from the deaths of massive stars. A star is like a giant space furnace. Deep inside the star, nuclear reactions create energy. That energy pushes outward. At the same time, gravity pulls everything inward. For millions of years, these two forces can balance each other. But eventually, a massive star runs out of fuel. The outward push becomes weaker. Gravity says, "My turn." And the star collapses under its own enormous weight. The outer layers of the star may explode in a giant blast called a supernova. The explosion throws material out into space, but the star's heavy center remains. If that leftover center is massive enough, no known force can stop its collapse. It gets squeezed smaller and smaller, until gravity becomes strong enough to trap light. And that is how a black hole is born. So a black hole is, in a way, the crushed heart of a giant dead star. Yes, black holes can grow. They can pull in gas and dust. They can consume material from nearby stars. And sometimes, two black holes can circle each other for a very long time before crashing together. When they merge, they create one larger black hole. It is almost like two whirlpools joining and becoming one giant whirlpool. But remember this important point. Black holes are not giant space vacuum cleaners. A black hole does not magically suck up everything around it. If the sun suddenly became a black hole with exactly the same mass, Earth would still orbit it. We would become very cold because there would be no sunlight. But Earth would not instantly be swallowed. The gravity would be almost the same from the same distance. A black hole becomes dangerous only when something gets very close. Now comes a very difficult question. How many black holes exist? The truth is, we do not know the exact number. Black holes are difficult to find because they do not produce light by themselves. Astronomers often discover them by watching how they affect nearby stars. A star may wobble. Gas may spin around an invisible object. Light may bend strangely. Or two black holes may collide and create ripples in space called gravitational waves. In the Milky Way alone, scientists think there could be tens of millions to hundreds of millions of stellar mass black holes. One recent computer simulation estimated around 170 million black holes in our galaxy. But that is an estimate, not an exact count. There may be 170 million black holes lurking in the Milky Way's graveyard. Other studies have suggested that the Milky Way could contain anywhere from about 100 million to 1 billion black holes. And our galaxy is only one galaxy. The observable universe may contain hundreds of billions of galaxies. So, if other galaxies contain black holes in similar numbers, the universe could contain an unbelievably large number of them. Possibly around 10 circumflex, 19 to 10 circumflex, 20 stellar mass black holes. That is a number with 19 or 20 zeros. More black holes than we could ever count one by one. Let's talk about the black hole closest to Earth. Its name is Gaia BH1. It is about 1,560 light-years away in the direction of the constellation Ophiuchus. Gaia BH1 is roughly 10 times heavier than our Sun. But it is not traveling toward Earth. In fact, it is mostly quiet and difficult to see. Astronomers found it by observing a nearby sun-like star. The star was moving in a strange orbit, as if an invisible heavy object was pulling it around. That invisible object was Gaia BH1. The distance sounds scary, but it is enormous. 1 light-year is the distance light travels in 1 year. Even light needs about 1,560 years to travel from Gaia BH1 to Earth. So it may be the closest known black hole. But it is still extremely far away from us. Now let's meet one of the biggest black holes ever discovered. Its name is TON 618. TON 618 is a supermassive black hole powering an extremely bright object called a quasar. Scientists estimate that it may be between about 40 billion and 66 billion times heavier than our Sun. The exact mass is uncertain because astronomers calculate it indirectly. But even the lower estimate is difficult to imagine. Try to picture 40 billion suns, not 40 billion Earths. 40 billion suns. The event horizon of TON 618 would be enormous, far larger than the orbit of several planets in our solar system. Guinness World Records lists TON 618 at an estimated mass of about 66 billion suns. And because TON 618 is more than 10 billion light-years away, we are seeing it as it looked billions of years ago. We are looking into the ancient history of the universe. Now for the final question. Do black holes live forever? According to Einstein's classical theory of gravity, a black hole would remain a black hole forever. But physicist Stephen Hawking proposed something surprising. He suggested that black holes can slowly lose energy through a process now called Hawking radiation. In other words, black holes may slowly evaporate. But don't imagine a black hole disappearing tomorrow. A black hole with roughly the mass of our Sun could take around 10 circumflex 67 years to evaporate completely. That is a 1 followed by 67 zeros. The universe is about 13.8 billion years old. Compared with 10 circumflex, 67 years, the universe is still practically a newborn baby. Supermassive black holes would last even longer, possibly around 10 circumflex 100 years or more, depending on their mass. Eventually, a black hole could become smaller and hotter. Then, after an unbelievably long time, it might disappear in a final burst of energy. But scientists still do not completely understand the final moments. That is because we do not yet have one theory that perfectly explains both gravity and the strange rules of quantum physics. So, what is a black hole? It is not a monster. It is not a giant vacuum cleaner. It is an area of space where an enormous amount of matter has been squeezed into a tiny region, creating gravity so strong that even light cannot escape. Black holes can be born when massive stars collapse. They can grow by collecting matter and merging with other black holes. And they may eventually disappear, but only after an almost unimaginable amount of time. The closest known black hole is about 1,560 light-years away. The biggest known examples may weigh tens of billions of suns, and the universe may contain more black holes than we could ever count. So, the next time you look at the night sky, remember this. The darkness between the stars may not be empty. Somewhere out there, hidden in the silence, gravity may be holding the universe's greatest secret. And that secret has a name: a black hole.